This is exciting. We've got a nice crowd for you all tonight. I've got my glasses on so I can see these aren't my regular glasses.
Those are nice.
I know, they're really something. Anyway, they're for reading, not for seeing, so the good news is I'm able to read. Thanks for coming tonight, everybody. Many of us already know Kathy and Mike, but some of us do not, so I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction. I actually first met Mike in the 1970s when we were at Peru Junior High School together, before he went off to MAI. And Kathy I got to know more recently because of swimming, paddling, and skiing. She is the she to my nanigans. I follow Mike's podcast, Ethics and Etiquette, and that's where I also learn a lot about your trips, because we don't always talk about those as friends, but you do learn a lot from listening to your show. And I'm here to tell you too, this is more than just walking for life and just walking for fun around the neighborhood. This is a resume of walking, and it's really important that I tell you a little more about them. So here's the highlights. They met in the Army, lived 11 different places worldwide, raised 4 children, moved back to Peru after retiring from Army careers, and have been married for 36 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Congratulations. They're both lifelong athletes who found their love of walking during a journey across Spain, walking the ancient pilgrimage Camino de Santiago in 2014. Since moving to Peru, they are on the cusp of being Adirondack 46ers at 42 or 46. That puts you just, what, 1/10 away from completing it. Sauntered Vermont end to end. Through-hiked 35-mile Northville Placid Trail, 220-mile John Muir Trail, Vermont's 275-mile Long Trail, 80-mile Great Glen Way in Scotland, and for those of you that are counting, that's 610 miles. And they're packing up to begin the 470-mile Colorado Trail in a few weeks, and another ancient pilgrimage 500 miles through France this fall. So they're going to go from what, like 600 to, I don't know, over 2,000. You may never come home. Beyond. Please help me welcome our good friends Kathy and Mike Derrick. Thank you.
All right.
I need to test the microphone. Hello? I'm good. Is that good?
Yeah, that's great. All right. Oh my gosh. Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. I know there are a lot of things demanding on most of your time, and I really appreciate, Mike and I really appreciate you choosing to come here and spend a little bit of time with us, allowing us just talk about something we love doing. So, I see a lot of familiar faces out there, and then a few I don't know. So it's really nice to again see all our friends, and then some people that hopefully we'll get to know after. So we're Kathy and Mike Derrick, and we love to walk. And I never have added up those walks before. It's sort of not a total number we're looking at getting to. So, do I need to use this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is that better?
Yes.
I'm not very good at these things. All right. So we used to be runners. And you see the title of this thing? We're aging. And running is just not a great aging sport. Mike fell off the running, he was a competitive runner for a long time, and then somehow in the 40s that sort of faded away. I still run, I dabble in running. Usually it's a run walk. But we really like to walk almost every day. And even though it sounds kind of boring, it just has a sneaky way of just getting under your skin and getting stuck there. And then it becomes this really a thing of beauty. So we have our roots in a lot of different athletic endeavors. We started in running, of course, and then we ski and cycle. We did triathlon for quite a while. But we've been doing most of that different things all our lives, very active, and not walking. For me, it was just not even a little sport. It's like, why would you do that when you can run and get your heart rate up, takes less time, get a workout in, and you're done. And that all changed when we walked on the Camino in 2014. It was about 10 years ago, so we're on our Camino-versary, we say. But Mike had a serious leg injury, and he couldn't walk for months. And during that time, his recovery from the surgery and rehabilitation, he just decided that he needed a big goal and he needed an adventure out there. He needed something to put on the wall to get him to really get his gait back so he could walk normally again. And so we took our youngest son, Henry, out of school in 10th grade, and we went to Spain and we walked across Spain for 500 miles. And it seems a little extreme, but it was life-changing for Henry and for us. And that it just really, that was the start of our love of walking and realizing that we love to travel, and how cool is it to kind of see the world slowly by walking. And that's kind of what Spain, the walk across Spain, did for us. So our purpose here is to bring you into our world of walking, to show you the joy that we have found, the joy for the fitness, the connections with nature, and the connections with other wanderers that we find on the trail. So for us, there's such a joy and goodness in walking, and it's brought that to our lives. And if we can help you maybe see a different version of walking, because you might be that person I was 11 years ago, where it's like, walking, that's something you have to do from the car to the store. It's not that way anymore. So anyway, I'd like to give you a small taste of that, and maybe we'll throw in a little bit more on hiking and backpacking as we go along.
Well, first I want to thank Dina for that introduction. I had never logged all the miles either, so I guess this summer is to infinity and beyond. Anyhow, really glad everybody's here. It's really our honor that you took some time out of your evening. And to build on what Kath said, walking, there's a spectrum, right? There's the way in which we move from place to place for very functional reasons. And so we want to start with that as one anchor, and then the other we're going to get to this evening is backpacking, which is like, for no really good apparent reason, you put a pack on your back and you disappear into the woods for weeks, and you somehow come out changed and better at the end. That's what we want to talk about. We want to meet you where you're at. We would love to have your questions in stride tonight. So if you feel inspired to say something, and I'm looking at some people in particular here, or you have a comment or a question, just jump right in. We sort of hit the reset button like so many people did during the pandemic. It was 2020. All of our plans for the summer of 2020 had been set aside. And we thought about, okay, what are we going to do where we don't have to travel very far and we can't be with other people? And so as a kid, I'd seen the Northville Placid Trail, which runs from, Northville in the southern edge of the Adirondacks to Lake Placid. I'd seen it, I'd heard about it, people had told me about it. I just said, hey, let's walk the Northville Placid Trail. And we did. We bought the stuff we needed, we trained up a little, and we started out. Our son Henry dropped us off in Northville, and he wondered, and we wondered how far we would get. Okay, I'm a guy who's had back trouble for like 15 years, and I just didn't know. And so we went out and we started walking, and we kept at it, and we didn't go too hard, we didn't get too crazy, and we had a blast. We met some cool people, we learned about ourselves, we got deep, deep, deep sleep because we were so tired. And we kind of calmed our souls too. You spend enough time in the deep Adirondacks, and these are deep Adirondacks. These aren't high peaks, which, with 100 people from New Jersey on them. This is the remote Adirondacks, and we really had a blast. And we came back, yes.
So did you tent?
We did. We tented, we carried a tent, and we also when we had a shelter available, we often would use a shelter to like just eat
Right,
and
lean-to.
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
exactly. Lean-to in the Adirondacks. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to use Adirondack lingo here since we're in that neighborhood. So anyhow, we had a great time. And we came home feeling better, fitter, smarter, thinking more clearly, sleeping more deeply, and oh, by the way, there's more on this later, we lost 1/3 of a pound every day. Okay, so multiply 11 times 0.33 and you'll see where we ended up.
How many days did it take you?
11.
11?
135 miles, 11 days.
Okay.
So why do we walk? Good for the body. I guess these aren't necessarily in any priority or specific order, but it's great for the body. Our skeletal system, our blood pressure, our heart health, weight loss, balance, posture, all come to mind. And I think it's really important to know that it's weight bearing. I mean, this is really critical to us. We really need to put weight on our skeletal system and move. And as much as we love cycling, and we're big champions of cyclists out there, you gotta do weight bearing too. And your body needs that. And so just walking most people can access this in some way, and they can walk. And it's good for our physical body. Recovering runners, that's what we call ourselves. Even though I'll dabble on occasion, but running is such a big part of our lives for so long. We just feel, well, we got to just kind of combat this aging with movement, and we really can't run. And we know so many people with new hips, knees, and ankles, feet. Just name that joint that they had replaced. We thought, well, walking's just a little better on the body in that way too. So less running, or not running, but easier on those joints. The other thing Mike and I talk about is the comfort crisis in our country. Maybe our world, but let's just say our country, not the whole world. There's a lot of the world that's working pretty darn hard. But human beings thrive when we do hard things. And our advanced technology over the last few decades has just made so many things easier, and our lives are easier for it. And I really speak to our country because, our great USA, who leads the way in so many things, we're getting more sedentary and as a general population. And so we have bodies and we're humans that want to move and do hard things, and yet our lifestyles have become easier, more sedentary. So who can get out and walk? Most of us. So how do we fit that in our lives? And we'll talk about more of that later. But when you think about just elevators and drive-throughs and DoorDash and parking your car as close as you can to the entrance so you don't have to walk very far, or working remotely, which just means you sit at home in front of your computer instead of sitting at the office. It just, all of those things really compound the antithesis of what we're trying to do, and that is a big chunk of every day that we get out and we walk. So last thing on walking I want to talk about is marriage therapy. 36 years
Here
together. So midlife, empty nest, potential retirement, but unfortunately sometimes it's complacency in a long marriage or a long relationship, even if you aren't married, that you can get complacent and stale. So does walking just change that dramatically? Maybe, maybe not. We have found, yes, it does. It really puts something back into our marriage that, may have just got complacent. Did we trust each other? Of course. But now we find on a way that I can't even say it really well in words, that our trust has deepened. I think because when we go out in the woods and we are alone and we have a backpack and everything we have for us for the next 3 days, 5 days, 22 days is in our backpacks, you really have to trust the other person. You have to make sure also that you're there when they're down and things aren't going right or they're not feeling good. You got to get each other through it, and it brings this new ability to thrive in our marriage. And again, I don't know if I described that really well, and you might have another word for it, but we like to think that when we go out on these walks together, it's therapy. And honestly, we do not just chit-chat the whole time either. We have separation time on the trail as well. And those are really important, that we take that time to just have our own creative, thoughtful moments and not be chattering together and not necessarily, not even really walking close together where we could talk. And that's good. It's a nice rhythm. So.
How many minutes do you go without talking? What's the longest?
Are you asking me that question?
Well, I don't know. How's the longest you've gone without, like, just totally, like, almost like a silent meditation kind of thing?
I would say
Couple hours.
over an hour, couple hours.
Yeah.
We'll spread out. It depends on the time of day, you know. I tend to really hit my low point in sort of the mid-afternoon when it gets hot. And the last thing I want to do is try to have like a pleasant, constructive conversation. I just sort of want to put my head down, listen to the birds, look for cool mushrooms, and
And if I may-
continuous forward motion.
This is when I get in front, so I keep the pace, and I keep walking, because as he wanders, as we say, he gets the slows. So when he gets the slows in the afternoon, I go in front, so I just, he just will follow. But we often don't talk.
And there's a standing rule that you stop at every trail intersection.
Oh, right.
Okay, that's just a standing rule. It applies to us,
Yeah.
it applies to small children. You never go through a trail intersection without letting the rest of your group catch up, because it just prevents really bad things. All right, so more on why we walk. And this kind of gets to the mental side of it. And, you know, I think we live in a world that our bodies and our minds are not particularly well adapted to. You know, our bodies and minds, you know, we are still hunter-gatherers at heart. And in the evenings, we should be sitting around a fire, telling tales or chatting with people, as opposed to sitting in front of a screen and tapping on a keyboard. And so our lives have changed so dramatically with the advances of technology that we find walking as a reset. It resets your mind. It reshapes your mind. You unplug. Everybody throws that term around. But you really, really deeply unplug. And you come out of it a little better. You come out of it a little clearer. I think we both find that we're more creative. Some of our best ideas happen on the trail. Some of my best ideas happen on quiet morning walks on the roads of Peru, New York. It somehow gets the mind going in a way which is different than when you're confronted with a screen or an interface or something like that. So I'm a huge proponent of this, because everyone is now more and more, and I think rightfully so, talking about mental health. So
Are you able to remember what you thought of?
Yeah, well,
You don't have to pull out your phone and
so
put it in the
all right,
notes.
here's my dirty
Audio notes.
Exactly. So, you know, you tap into technology when technology serves you well. So that little voice note thing, one tap, boom.
I live
You know?
by it.
Yeah.
Hey Siri, remind me.
Right, exactly. And so I go back through those things, and, you know, I have come up with some really, I'm a big idea guy. I'm real short on execution, at least at this point in my life, you know. I mean, I've got like 4 books lined up, but I'd really like somebody to write them if you're interested, okay?
And we both usually journal to some degree, and when we get to the campsite, and we have a moment to write. This is when you're 60. This is what you have to do. Okay, we were talking about this, right? What was it you said about that? And then we write it down. If we didn't do an audio note, we work at it again later, and we pull it back together and write it down. So one of the most important things on walking is the people you meet. And it's funny because the first draft of this presentation, I completely left that off, and I was walking through the presentation with our kids, just in just a real free-flowing way. Like, this is what we're talking about. And, you know, one of our sons goes, "So are you going to talk about people you meet?" And the light bulb, of course. Like, why would we? It's like, he goes, because every time you guys talk about what you do and where you go, it's about those people you meet. And some of our kids now have met them because we've reconnected with many of the folks we meet. So the thread through this presentation, starting on this slide, is some of the really interesting people we have met on the trail. And we'll have them up there and we'll tell you the little story when their picture comes up. So to start it off, we got Pat McGinn, who's not here tonight, I don't think, but Pat's a good friend of ours, and Pat's from Vermont, and he's an avid golfer and skier, and he'd never climbed Camel's Hump, which is an iconic climb, a mountain across the lake. And so when we told him we were going to walk the long trail, and that this is what our general, how it works is, and he's like, hey, can I come over and meet you guys and climb Camel's Hump? And I'm like, sure. So sure enough, early in the morning, it happened to be a completely freezing day, a couple days in October, and he came up to the place, our campsite, our cabin. We were staying in a shelter that night, and showed up that morning, and we hiked in blustery, cold, sleet and snow at the top, Camel's Hump, and had a great day with Pat McGinn, and that was pretty special for us.
I just want to say I asked Pat McGinn to carry my pack, and he didn't.
All right, how do we walk? We walk daily. Now, I just want to say, for the record, for 32 days, we have been with our children and grandchildren, or some version of our children, but our daughter's family and grandkids, who are 6 weeks and 20 months. There was a lot less walking going on this past month. We did throw the 20-month-old, and when she was raising hell, we would put her in a backpack and go. But so most of the time we go out the door and we walk daily, either end of the day or first thing in the morning, get ourselves going, or if we're in a training up for some event. Goals, walking goals. You can do distance, you can do time, you can do your steps. You can define your own way of kind of measuring it, and you don't even have to measure it. You could just walk. But for a lot of people out there, especially the steps craze, and how many thousands of steps you walk each day, which is kind of cool. Whatever works for you. So that's how we walk. We usually do it by distance, and we don't do it by time. And I think, again, we're not 25 anymore. There's no personal records being made here. Speed records, fastest known times. It's just the journey, and however long it takes, whether it's, 3-week backpacking trip and how many stops and overnights we have to do, or it's just a daily walk, whether it's 45 minutes or an hour and a half, or, So, shoes, this is going to come up again. So how do we walk? We get great footwear for us. So whatever works for you, for your feet, highly recommend, don't skimp on shoes. You got to take care of the feet, that will derail everything if the feet aren't happy. So.
Okay, let me jump in here. Okay, for all you good people who showed up tonight, there are coupons up here for Lenny's shoes. Okay, so we're bribing you, all right? We're going to tell you about walking, but then we're going to make it worth your while to go to Lenny's. Great shoe shop, great folks who will fit you with good shoes. Highly recommend them, and you can get 10% off.
What do you each wear?
So now I wear Hoka's trail shoes, and I find I can wear them. My hesitation, I used to wear like a Merrill, low trail hiker, very, very popular. So many people wear them. I wore those for, 10 years. But when I started using a backpack, I still wore them because I wanted that support. But when we were on the trail, majority of people we were seeing were in Hoka's or Ultras. They're two different, very, very popular backpacking or just trail shoes. They could be even trail runners. And I just looked and think, there's no way with a backpack and extra weight on that would be supportive enough. And I was completely wrong. So I decided to take the plunge before we did the long trail, and it was life-changing practically, because they're lighter and they dry out faster than the other ones, and they were super comfortable. So, and they don't take any breaking in, so if you have to get them on the fly because something happened, you could just really buy them at a store en route to somewhere, pretty much. So yeah, so that's what we're kind of in that right now. But I think even we each have leather hiking boots, and in the middle of winter, if we're going with snowshoes on or just having them for emergencies, they're warmer. So I won't wear, if it's really cold in the winter, I'll wear something with leather and a little more substance to it. Multitasking, how do we walk? It's okay. There's no judgment. I just want to get that. So audiobooks, phone a friend, walk your dog, listen to music, do a walking meditation. All of those are great ways and reasons to walk. And you can just say fitness, you can say I don't have time, but if you can find a way to multitask that helps you get out there, do that. And then lastly on how we walk is hard things. So we started just walking, and the Camino is not that hard. We drank wine, and with other pilgrims, drank wine and ate great food every night in a auberge or an inn. So it was pretty sweet. It was just like a gentleman's walk. But it was still 500 miles at the end of 32 days. So go longer, or hike a mountain, make it uphill, do hill repeats. You can make a walk harder, but it's not more stressful on your body. So going to the hard things, that's just what I would recommend, and that's what we try to do. That's when we jumped into carrying a backpack. We figure while we can. We may not be doing that 10 years from now at all, but right now it brings us a lot of joy. So we've done everything from inn to inn, where it's kind of swishy at night and you get great food and wine, or we go out in the wilderness where there's no wine because it's too heavy to carry. And we eat, 4.5 ounces per meal per person. So that's it.
All right, more people we meet on the trail. So this happens to be our daughter and her son-in-law. And I put them in here because, they've been married now almost 6 years. And, they've lived in California. We don't see that much of them, not nearly as much as we would like. And I really didn't know my son-in-law that well. But 2 summers ago, they came and hiked part of the John Muir Trail with us. And I tell you, it just reinforced for me the way in which the trail brings people closer together. And the trail can be a long-distance trail, or it can be a daily walk that you do with your friend in the neighborhood, or your partner, or whatever the case might be, but it brings people together. Those 5 days walking with Kyle, for me, were absolutely changed. It changed our relationship. And he's driving this evening down to Quantico, Virginia. And so we spent 30 days together. And I just feel so much better about our relationship, father-in-law to son-in-law, because of having spent 5 days on the trail. So, all right, where do we walk? Most of the time we walk out our front door in Peru, New York. We happen to live in a pretty quiet corner. Some of you have been there. Lots of farm roads, lots of quiet paved roads. It's really, really nice, and it's really ideal. However, we live in a region where there's a lot of wonderful places to walk. I think about 4 state parks around here: Macomb, Ausable Point, Point of Rush, Cumberland Bay, whatever they call it, the beach. They're all wonderful places, especially in the off-season. Go up to the college, walk around the college, especially when it's quiet at night or in the summer when the students are there. Go into the Ruger Woods behind the field house. Marvelous trails back there. The city and town of Plattsburgh have invested an incredible amount in the Saranac River Trail. If you have not walked that, it starts right over here, and it goes a long ways, and they're planning to push it out even further. So we have marvelous resources, and that's what it's all about. You will form a habit walking if you have places to walk, if you make it easy on yourself. Of course, we have the Adirondacks, all right? They're hard to miss. Everybody talks about them. You've got the high peaks and what I like to call the low peaks. Low peaks are things like Lion Mountain. Have you been up Lion Mountain and climbed the fire tower and looked to Montreal, Burlington, and almost to Albany at the same time on a clear day? It's amazing. Polka Moonshine, Rattlesnake, these are all right around us. Wonderful trails. I have a thing wherever we have lived in the world where I like to walk mountains I can see from my house or near my house. So for me, that's like Camel's Hump, Mansfield, Whiteface, Lion Mountain, Polka Moonshine. I mean, to me then, when I sit on my porch and look out and I see these physical terrain features, I know what it's like because I've been on top of them. And I find that makes my walking more meaningful. I work with Champlain Area Trails. We're out of Westport, New York, known by its acronym CATS. We have about 90 miles of trails. Most of them are down towards the Westport, Essex area, but we have a couple up here in Clinton County. If you don't know about CATS, you might want to look them up. They have a thing called the CATS Women, and we get 12 to 15 women who go on a walk every week. So if you're new to it and you want to get into it, there are resources out there for you. The other is Adirondack Mountain Club.
Tell me about it.
Oh, by the way, we have maps from the CATS organization up here. Both they divide it into two parts. So there's the northern Champlain Valley and the central Champlain Valley. We have an Algonquin chapter of the Adirondack Mountain Club here in town. And if you want to get into the high peaks and you've never done it before, and you want somebody to take you or teach you or guide you, they do that kind of thing. So look them up. And then, as we've said a couple times now, every year, Kathy and I block a couple weeks on the calendar. We tell our kids we're going to be off the grid. We close the house, and we put backpacks on, and we go into the woods.
And we bring an emergency satellite device.
We bring an emergency satellite. And then if you have nothing to do in your life and you want to be on our notification list for the Colorado Trail and see where we end up at the end of every day, you're going to get a terse little message from us which says, all okay. That means we're still alive and still breathing. And then you'll get a map pin dropped so you can tell where we are, and that's all you get. So some people really get fired up about that. All right, I'm telling another story. Here's a couple who's really special to us, and I hope I can hold it together. We met them on the John Muir Trail 3 years ago now. Jim and Lisa from New Zealand. Super strong, super fun, super cool. They kicked our asses over 14,000 foot passes again and again and again. Lisa has since come up, and she's a professor at Cal Poly now. She's come up and hiked with us in the Adirondacks. And, we don't see many couples out there. And they really were just immediate connection, and we became very close with them because we walked for about 8 days together. And last year, 2 years ago? Year and a half ago, we get a call, and Jim has colon cancer. All right, and then he goes into treatment and surgery and the whole host of things which you know all about when it comes to cancer. And then he calls us last fall and he says, we're going to walk across France this summer and we want you to come. So just like when I really messed up my leg, that was my goal, to go on something significant. For Jim, who almost lost his life to colon cancer, he's going to walk across France. And so the chance to join him and Lisa is something special. But that's the kind of thing which we have found comes from walking.
Okay, So that's my favorite picture right there. That's me on the Camino in Spain, 2014. But when I look at that picture, and I have it on our wall in our bedroom, and it just brings me peace. And that's what I feel like it just says so much with why we walk. So that's not my slide. It's not a why we walk slide, but I'm digressing. So yeah, so that's me walking down in just endless fields and, gentle climb, rolling hills. But those are our adventures there listed, and I want to zoom in on one of them right here, the North El Paso Trail in 2020, to tell you a story. So we started out, it was our first time we did something like resupply. So we had all our stuff, our gear, and we have 3 resupplies, because you can't carry 11 days of food. So we had 4 days and a chunk, and that's about right, because we want to keep our packs at about 30 pounds. And we just can't carry that much. So we thought this would be great. We'll do what they do on the AT and Appalachian Trail. You just have these resupply boxes show up at a post office, right? So that you do. And so in Pasico, New York, a town there's nothing else there. There was no restaurant to eat in or anything. They did have a post office. We sent a box to ourselves, general delivery, and we got there on day 4, and we got all our new food, and we decided, well, let's get rid of that stuff we don't need, because if we haven't used it in 4 days, we probably don't need it, and that just gets the weight out of the pack. So we did this whole transfer of stuff in the center, and then we did, Mike's the chef, and so he did the food thing, and then I did the gear and checked equipment, and then we set up the package and we sent it back to us, the stuff we didn't need. And then we got walking because there's no place to stay. There was no hotel night in Pasico, New York, so we headed down the road about 3 or 4 miles to the campsite. And we got him, he's cooking dinner that night. He's doing a little food inventory. And he goes, oh shit. He goes, we have 4 days to walk, and I only have 3 days of food, because, and he sent it back because he thought he had too much. He had completely miscalculated. And I'm just looking at him because this is that trust I talked about earlier. I'm like, here we are in the middle of the woods, and we now have less food than we really need. And I just looked at him, and the first thing that came to mind was, oh my God, this is Mike's fat camp, isn't it? We had this plan. This is a little sneaky joke, isn't it, that you playing on me, that we're just going to eat less and come out really lean. So it has now become the moniker for our wilderness backpacking adventures, is we head into Mike's fat camp when we pack up those backpacks, pack up our food.
In my defense, I've never forgotten a day's worth of food since.
Right,
Okay.
that's right.
Smart man.
But yeah, back to the marriage therapy thing. I just I didn't want to lose the marriage over food.
So our last thing I want to say, it's not on the slide, and just our upcoming things, and we are going to attempt the Colorado Trail here in a couple weeks, and hopefully we have enough food, and we are really zeroed in on those resupply boxes, and then in the fall we're meeting our friends from New Zealand to walk 500 miles in France with them in September. So anything I missed on the...
How long will that take?
The one in France, we're planning about 35 days. It is supposed to be one of the most beautiful Camino pilgrimages with like 8 World Heritage sites on the trail, and we just, once we backpacked with them, it's when we met them, and so it's a little different. These are lighter packs, and we're staying in inns and hostels, and so we will get further each day. So we'll see. What's our plan? We might come in a little under that. The one we did in Spain was about 32 days, but these aren't exact mileages. It's quite, yeah. So, but we're planning 35 days to come back here in mid-October. And normally we do one a year. This is a special because, again, our friends called and we're going. And then this one, so this is really a sign in Scotland. Isn't that great? So these people we meet. So on our trip on North El Paso Trail, we did a hotel night in Long Lake, New York, got our resupply, had enough food, and we go into the hotel, and that happened to be my worst day on the trail. It was long, and it was cranky, and things didn't really work out as well for me that day. And I was just a cranky, hangry mess. And we walk into this lobby to get our room, and this couple came up to us and wanted to know what we'd been doing, because we had backpacks on, and I was just, dirty, and it had rained that day. And they were as nice as can be. They were so curious, and he had some Spanish military jacket on that he recognized. And so a conversation started. We got invited to have Belgian beers on the balcony, and a great friendship with this group of people from Ithaca was born. And these guys were doing 46ers, and they invited us a month later to come do a 46er. We did our first one in 2020 with them. And 2 weeks from today, or next week from today, we are going to do the 46th one with them. So we have, so this is last year we walked in Scotland on the Great Glen Way with them. And that's, we don't travel very often with a lot of other people other than our family. So it's pretty special. Again, people we meet on the trail, and we took a trip and we walked 80 miles in Scotland on the Great Glen Way with them last summer. And we just love that sign.
Yeah, and it's hard to see. Resolution is not quite what you might see on a smaller screen, but this is the Great Glen Way in the very northern part of Scotland, so these are the Highlands. And if you're looking for kind of an entry-level inn-to-inn thing, this is 80 miles long. And it runs along a rift valley. We started in the southwest in Fort William, and we went to Inverness in the northeast. If you've watched Outlander, both of those,
I'm right there.
there you go, okay, both of those names should be familiar. Jamie spent a lot of time in Fort William, in the prison. But you walk 32 miles along Loch Ness and Loch Lochy and others. Absolutely beautiful. Wonderful food, wonderful people, remarkable scotch, and not many hills. So it's a really cool thing. We were just really captivated by Scotland. It's easy to get to, and for some of us it's part of our heritage. And so I'd never been to the Highlands before, but that's what this was last year. And again, these things come in different flavors. You don't have to go into the deep woods and tent. You can go inn to inn. We like to call it credit card camping. It's just a little harder on the pocketbook and a little easier on the back. All right.
So getting started. I'm not sure at all about anyone here, and if they're where they are and their walking plan, walking goals, if they walk, if they care about walking. But you're here tonight, so just some ways to get started, because it's not easy. It's not easy to squeeze in and make a new habit. So find time and schedule it, and you really have to schedule it almost like a meeting. I go back to feet and shoes again, and I say this not just because it's the truth, but because we have been there with people, and thank God, knock on wood, hasn't been us, because we do a lot of feet care, but that their feet failed them, and it derails your whole walking thing. If you're doing a 46er, if you're doing Lion Mountain, if you're walking 5 miles down the road, if you got pain in your feet, you're not doing well. Should be your top priority. 10,000 steps. I thought this was just fun fact. About an hour 30, hour 40 minutes, 5 miles roughly. So and the 10,000 steps is really, really random. We heard it came from some kind of commercial, and it was thrown out there, and it just went viral kind of, and then people just assume now 10,000 steps should be the goal, and it's the best and the be all and all. It's not really true. There's been some studies that show like 7,000 steps actually is probably pretty darn good, and maybe all you need if you do that every day in your fitness program. But just so you know, it's whatever works for you, time, distance, miles.
And I just want to jump in there. I mean, we have the number 5 miles up there, and that may be intimidating to some people. This is your total all day long. This is because you park at the back of the Walmart parking lot and you walk 400 meters to the front door and 400 meters back instead of parking as close as you possibly can. This is taking the stairs instead of taking the escalator. This is walking your dog just a little further than you might ordinarily. This is cumulative over the day, okay? So it's not like you got to sign up for a 5-mile walk. That's the idea. This builds with you, and you gain momentum.
Is altitude gain a priority for you?
Does altitude gain?
Priority for you when you go walking? Do you look to how high, how many, how
You know, yes, it is, but not so. It's not a specific number. It's just that we know, based on what we're going to do, we have to climb. And we're training, like for the Colorado Trail. Well, we're not going to match the altitude. We're getting in early in Denver, and we're going to have acclimation time while we sleep. But
Oh, really?
yeah, you actually acclimate best in altitude while you sleep. So get there a few days in advance. But the question is, yeah, we do that when we want to do it harder. I walk a lot of times 5 miles, go for an hour, 15 minutes in the morning, just straight up, nothing. And then I want to go harder because we're going to go on this backpacking trip. So I've started wearing a backpack, light backpack, like 18 pounds, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and then I've added now up to about 25 pounds. Let's see, my granddaughter plus for all the water, the supplies she needs, 28 pounds. But, so carrying something when I walk, having a pack on my back. And so and then ideally getting out and just doing like training rides up Lion Mountain or Poco Moonshine, or we're going to get into, there's a couple of 46ers here the next week or so for our getting to altitude training. But training for altitude is really difficult, obviously. It's hard to mirror that without getting a chamber. So no, there isn't a certain number, but we have to do a lot more like just uphill work for our legs, knowing it's going to really be hard to breathe. Let's see, this is an investment in you. So the more you can bank in your investment account for your body, mind, and spirit while you're walking now, it will pay dividends later. And that's just, so a 30-day challenge works for a lot of people. And bringing a friend is always, always, always amazing because accountability keeps you honest. So if you invite somebody or you do a 30-day challenge or try to put a goal out there, if you have a friend that will do it with you, so it's a good way to get started.
All right, in terms of getting started, we're back to the John Muir Trail. This is something that will warm our hearts forever. We met this young couple, Erica and Andrew, just one evening in a campsite. Another couple you meet. They're 30 years younger than we are, maybe more. And we get to walk in and we see them the next day and the following day, and we start hanging out with them, and Jim and Lisa, who you saw earlier. And Andrew had been carrying an engagement ring with him on this trip. Now, they had a destination engagement planned in some faraway place with a swanky hotel and everything else. And we came up, we cleared a little rise, and we came down into this area called the Ray Lakes. And Andrew was so taken by that spot that he dropped down to one knee, totally spontaneously, and proposed to Erica.
Except for the fact that he told Lisa and I, because we wanted to have pictures. So he did a little quick, a mile or two back or something. And
So he was inspired a few miles earlier. Erica later told us she said yes, but that might be with conditions because she was dehydrated and lacking nutrition. But anyhow, it was a moment, and we all then camped together that night, and we went swimming in that lake, which was unbearably cold. And we just had dinner with them in California about 2 weeks ago. And they are happily married. And so again, we're back to people we meet on the trail and the way in which those people have changed our lives. And hopefully we've added something to their lives also. All right, so let's put a wrap on this. The word gateway drug or term gateway drug is a little negative, but I want to flip that script. I'm in the parking lot of the Adirondack Pet Lodge about 3 weeks ago, and I meet a guy who I went to high school with, and I went to West Point with, and we're both picking up our dogs. And he was a great tennis player and golfer in high school.
Picking up his dog.
Picking up his dog. Yeah, we don't have a dog, but we're serious dog sitters. I hadn't seen him in a while, and I say, "How you doing, man?" And he, about 7 or 8 years ago, got into triathlon. And he looked at me and he said, "Mike, I'm addicted." And I said, "You look great." He's lost 20 pounds. He's lean, fit, hard. He's doing half Ironmans. And he said, "It has changed my life. I am so much better off than I was before." Now, we're not asking you to go out and do half Ironmans. We're asking you to walk. But there's a lot of commonality there. I just think it was a great example of somebody whose life is different, who's better, who has better health. He will have a longer health span unless some unforeseen thing comes along. He told me he had more joy in his life, and I guess that leads to a better life. I want to finish with a story about a local guy from Peru, New York. He grew up about a mile down the road. His name is Philip Allen. He's a Roman Catholic priest, and he walks 5 miles every morning. And while he walks, he prays. That's his quiet moment with himself. And then he takes 1 week off, 1 day off per week, and he goes into the mountains and he walks. Philip Allen has done the 46 Adirondack high peaks 25 times. Philip Allen, Father Philip Allen, has 3 parishes in the Diocese of Ogdensburg: Indian Lake, Pottersville, and maybe Blue Mountain Lake, somewhere down there. And Philip Allen is 90 years old. And he is one of the most vital, amazing people I have ever met in my life. He keeps a garden up on the Calkins Road because he grew up there and his brother's still a farmer there. But to me, that's my example. That's what walking can do. Philip Allen doesn't do triathlons. He doesn't ride a bicycle. He doesn't do Pilates or yoga. He probably eats anything he wants, but he walks 5 miles every day, and then he goes on a long walk every week. So anyhow, that's my closing pitch to you, maybe. And I hope that we've had fun tonight. Maybe you've learned a little something. Maybe you have some questions. Does my better half have any?
We'll finish with that. We'll leave
So
that
there
with
we
that.
go. The mountains are calling and I must go.
When you do the credit card camping, do you just carry a light pack? Like,
Yes.
you don't have somebody take your stuff.
No, sometimes that's an option. Certainly on the ones in Europe, the one we did in Scotland and the one in Spain and then where we're going in France, that's an available option for you. You can have somebody carry your things forward, whether it be a suitcase or a backpack. We do a light backpack, and so it's really clothing, no food, no, we have a water bottle. It's that extra change of clothes, toiletries.
So no food because you're not going very far, or because there's places.
There's food along the way.
Okay.
Yeah, so you that's the
In
idea.
Spain, we hit a cafe. I mean, Chaz walked with us in Spain. Hit a cafe like every 5 miles.
That depends. Depends on where.
So the Camino, just fun fact, the Camino was 500 miles long. We did it 33 days. I became much stronger. I was much fitter at the end. I was also 5 pounds heavier. Because I sort of had this thing going in my head like, okay, why not have another pastry? And why not have another serving of French fries in the evening? And I've learned from that, there is a limit. But, that's credit card camping, inn to inn, hostel to hostel is a lot of fun. You meet really cool people.
And if I can put one out there for you guys that we did, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe, the Vermont Inn to Inn. It's 4 days, 40 miles, and these 4 inns have worked together to create, a Vermont Inn to Inn experience. And so you stay in a beautiful inn with a gourmet dinner every night and then breakfast in the morning, and off you go. You walk your 10 miles to the next inn and you do this great loop. But it's really accessible. I mean, it's not super hard. It's not huge hills. It is, you bring your credit card for sure, because inns aren't super cheap. But it's really it's a really fun experience, and they do it from May through October. But there's a lot of others out there, to get started. Yeah.
Yes.
I think the closest hut to hut you're going to get in this part of the world is in New Hampshire, where you can do the White Mountains, and they have the AMC has huts up there where you can go hut to hut. But they're rigorous hikes. Like there's nothing longer than a New Hampshire mile, and the altitude climbing there is a fantastic workout. I mean, I don't think you can get a better workout, and it's like a hospital setting there. You can, you've got bunk beds there.
Yeah, that's great to know. We've not hiked in New Hampshire yet.
Yeah,
It's on the list.
Yeah.
yeah, it's fantastic, and the views, Mount Washington, and you go to Mount Washington and everything. Yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah.
How do you choose your clothing?
So carefully. I'm a merino wool, aficionado. I cannot speak highly enough about merino wool, so I don't stink too bad after a few days, which is the most important. But it mostly doesn't stink, and you can just layer it well. You can just sort of short sleeve t-shirt kind of thing, or multiple layers. But you have to layer, and everything from the base to warmth to rain gear or wet weather gear or windbreaker, and you want it light. It just, again, we're pretty militant about keeping stuff light, and then do we need it or don't we need it? And so a lot of extra clothes is where it's hard, but we're getting better and better at it, is making that cut. Like what do you really need? And then you have something to put on after. You have your campsite clothes, so you get off. If you're soaking wet, if you're muddy, all that, you get to the campsite and you have, generally it's your sleepwear, but your clothing that you're going to wear, it's warm. Even though it's summer, you still want to make sure you have something warm, because you do get depleted. But yeah, so it's tough, but merino wool works great, and a great windbreaker. And then learned through experience, even in the middle of summer on the John Muir Trail, I didn't bring gloves or a hat. So this was not my first rodeo, and I'm thinking, I'll be good. I don't need those. And we woke up to like frost and 40 degrees, 38, 40 degrees, and trying to take the tent down, my hands are numb. I can't even feel my fingers, and I'm just borrowing, stealing clothes from my better half. But it was just stupid. It was like, okay, never again will I go out in the wilderness without a hat and gloves, and just have them, even if they're very thin gloves. So there are certain clothing choices that are very, very important. And
got a question? Yes.
I got two questions.
Yes.
One, how do your legs feel after a long day? Are either of you on blood thinners? And do you check your bags or do you carry them on board?
Okay, good questions. First one was how do legs feel?
After a day?
It depends. So for me, it takes about 10 days to really feel fit. After about 10 days, you've been doing it long enough, and everything starts to click. So first 10 days, you're sore. You're really sore. That's why you sleep so well. And you wake up in the morning, there's something called the hiker's hobble, okay, which is when you get out of your sleeping bag or you're in bed or whatever, and you hobble around that first thing in the morning because everything's getting warmed up. That gets better over time. Neither one of us are on blood thinners. And then your third question was?
Do
you
you
check
check
your
your bags or you put them on and carry them on?
Usually we will carry them on because hopefully we're traveling with just what we need. And it's just a backpack, so there's certain things you can't carry. You can't carry parts of your stove and stuff with you.
Yeah, we have like the toolkit, because there's a knife in there, and our trekking pole. So depending on what type of walk we're doing, so we could check our bags if we're gonna kind of credit card camp end to end. But if we're going full,
When you went to Spain, did you check the bags and luggage or did you carry them on board?
I think we checked them on.
Yeah.
We checked them, yeah.
yeah,
You keep your credit card on your person.
Yeah, that's like critical equipment,
Yeah,
Rob.
yeah,
you know?
that's right.
I mean, that's like that's what stands between me and the next meal. Okay.
you put the phone on low power mode and airplane mode, and that's my camera. That's why I keep it. I mean, when I walked in Spain, I had my phone at the very bottom of the pack and I had it completely turned off. I didn't want it. It was for me, it was kind of the type of walk I wanted to do, that where the journey was uninterrupted and not, so I didn't post on social media or anything. It just was very personal. But now I have my camera, but I don't have my phone on. So it saves the battery, so it lasts for 4 days or 5 days till we get to a town or a resupplied town. But yeah, the checking the bags were tough with certain wilderness tools and the poles, trekking poles. And we didn't really talk about those at all, but if you want to carry those, airplanes don't like them very much.
Yes, Mark.
Have you ever gotten to a resupply point and not had the box there? And if so, what did you do?
We've never had that happen before. So we plan to give the USPS enough time to get it on site. One of the key things is not arriving like on a Sunday or not arriving after the post office has closed. So those are real downers, because all of a sudden you got to spend another day or another night and you didn't count on it.
And that happened in Long Lake on the night we met the Ithaca folks that we drank Belgian beer with, but we got in too late. Another reason I was not happy, and we missed the post office. So we ended up having, they had a vehicle, and those friends we drank beer with the night before drove us to the post office and then to the trailhead. So it all worked out, but it was very inconvenient initially to miss the post office time.
Do you like MREs or
It's a great question. It's an evolving art. I've gotten that we no longer do prepared freeze-dried food. So I go down to the North Country Co-op and I go to the bulk bins and I get a bunch of stuff from there. We can talk in more detail about it later. We have about 5 meals that we do. There's a lot of repetition in the diet. We seek to always add as much fiber as we possibly can. We look at our macros, so we're hitting some fats, some proteins, and obviously some carbs. We've taken to carrying, this sounds funny, we've taken to carrying a small bottle of olive oil on the trail, because olive oil calorie per ounce or caloric value per weight of measure of weight, whatever, is really high. And it's just a game changer, and plus it's good for you. So it's something like, I'm about to do that right now. The kids have all left today and I'm going to the North Country Co-op. I've got 15 packages of chicken, that is the base of most meals. And then it's either, the starch is either quinoa, soba noodles, couscous, rice, or polenta. So, and then you try to make it pleasant and palatable. Okay, you throw in enough spice that I enjoy, but my lovely hiking partner will also eat. It's a very, very fine line to walk. Okay.
If I can add to that, so we do 2 hot meals a day, and the morning one is always oatmeal, and it's a pretty ramped up oatmeal with all kinds of interesting things in it, between craisins and chia seeds and hemp hearts and other things. But and almonds or walnuts or something. And that's our morning. And then we both found, we tried this out actually on some long hikes, and we tried a lunch. Like, let's just do some hot lunch, and that might be really great for that afternoon, the afternoon slows maybe. But that was worse. We would eat this and we both wanted to just take a nap. We were like, we just can't eat a meal, a whole meal, even a camping meal or no. So we just snacked all day long, and then we have what he described as one of those 5 meals in the evening, and we share those.
Well, how many calories would that really amount to at the end of the day? How many?
So with the whole idea that we're
Look at
losing about a
calories.
third of a pound a day, we do. The thing is, you don't know really exactly what you burn. What we've read on different sources, we guesstimate when we're backpacking approximately 4,500 calories a day. We cannot eat that much. We just don't have the ability to cook it and to eat and to carry that many calories. So I think we guesstimate we get about 2,500 to 3,000.
So
Again.
in between these trips, you gotta fatten up a little bit. That's what you said.
Well, see, I was
That
lamenting.
doesn't seem to be a problem.
lamenting my winter weight. We didn't ski that much, right? This cross-country skiing was so bad this winter. I might have put on a few pounds, and he's just like, huh, who cares? You're going to lose that in the first 10 days. And I will, probably, because I just can't eat enough once we start walking. But
You gotta plan on some weight loss. So
yeah.
And you also, when you go to town, you take advantage of that,
Yeah.
and you want to have lots of fiber. I find I want to have lots of fiber in town, so there's always a fiber-rich salad, and then there's usually a pizza involved. Sometimes 2 large pizzas involved. So you compensate, let's say, while you're in town.
Yeah, you really,
There might be some beer which goes with that also.
it's really amazing. You really want a beer and you really want a salad. You just want.
Visually stimulating here. I mean, the places you guys are going,
Yeah.
it's gotta be, the visual stimulation is gonna be incredible.
It is. And that's part Bruce about this idea that we just, we like to travel, but just seeing places slowly, on a bike, walking, and so not to say renting a car and going that way is bad either. It's just that we have found, we've lived in a lot of places and been in a lot of places across the globe, and now we like to kind of dial it in a little more. So it's not that we hit way too many destinations, it's just that we really enjoy the one we're at. And so going slowly is kind of
I
fun.
found that, just relating on that visual, this weekend, Susie and I had a chance to go to Boston for a wedding, a family wedding. So we got up early Saturday morning, went for a nice long walk down along by the harbor, and the visuals that were going on as a builder, just checking out all the architecture and all that. Then we went back to the hotel, and Susie had to go do some stuff with her sister, and the kids were going back out, and I said, "Well, you mind if I join you?" So 7 miles later that day, I had put in 7 miles that day, and loved every minute of it. It was just, I got my steps in then some.
Yeah.
Got a chance to spend some time with some of my cousins, nieces, and that I would never really have that time with, and just walking with them, in regards to what it was really cool.
And the neat thing about what you said is that, we've been talking a little more wilderness focused, but it's not to say it can't apply in the middle of a big city. You can
the
still get
visuals
it,
were really cool, the
exactly,
architecture
a whole
was
different
cool.
experience, but also good walking
Yeah,
experience.
sure.
You need really good shoes in a big city because of the cement or the pavement really takes a toll after a while, I
Need the
find.
coupon, Bruce. The Lenny's coupon.
Go to Lenny's.
Yeah, I know, I got the coupon.
All right, well, listen, I think we've gone way over time. Any other questions?
We're good.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, we're good. Any more
Anything
questions?
Thank you.
Can I say a word?
Yeah.
I just want to thank the folks who are part of Inspire for, number one, inviting us and helping put this together. I think I'm looking at Dana and Dina
Steph?
and Sally. And real special for us to have the chance to share this with you tonight. Thank you.
We appreciate you.
So great. And I know we have some new folks that have come in tonight. I'd love to get your email and get you hooked up for the fall. We have a great lineup already. I have heard bits and pieces of this, but to hear it all in one sitting, wow, spectacular. Congratulations. It's very inspiring. So
hopefully we'll see you in the fall. Have a great summer. Thank you, Katie, for hosting us. This is a wonderful place. Look around. It's cool. Done a great job for downtown Plattsburgh. So thanks for coming, and thank you, Derek. Happy travels.
Sounds great.
Actually, you want to talk while I get it up?
Okay, so she wanted to make a mention that the mural is coming.
Oh.
The mural.
Okay, yeah. But I'm gonna invite you up, one of you. Dana, you wanna talk about it?
Put that on the screen, but
Okay.
let me help you.
Sorry, we didn't even do announcements. I'll do this announcement while she's putting that out. We've been having solstice and equinox yogas. We've got one coming up, the summer solstice yoga at our church. Ask me if you'd like to come. I'd be happy to share that with you.
And starting June 17th, this mural will be on the side of the Warren Tire building. And it's going to be dedicated at the August 24th Lake City Arts Festival. So just for anybody that's interested in what's happening on Broad Street this summer, this is happening. Yeah.